So from our perspective, numbers that I find interesting are that we have about 400 committees on what's called discretionary reporting, and I described it earlier, and that would suggest that there are no assets to manage, and it's likely that PWD is the only source of income, and I find that a very high number of committeeships, and in fact, it does represent about 20% of committees. When I do review these applications, I sometimes go back to council and say, well, what is the reason why this application is being brought? Is there a specific purpose for it? And I get a variety of answers around that. But when you look at what we do in referrals to our office to become involved, we only become committee of state by certificate in about 30% of our referrals. So we're always casting around for a way not to put someone through a certificate.
What I had emphasized to Sarah was that these numbers were startling to me as well, quite large. But you know, from my dialogue again with Angela and other practitioners, yourself, and other members of the estate community, and families generally in the disability community, this concern that you've now reached the age of 19, and what has traditionally worked for that family in terms of mom or dad being there to support that individual with a disability now changes because they're 19. And families, I think, have been led to believe that committeeship may be, you know, one of the only options. And I think it's reflective in, you know, these statistics as well, because I think it's important to reflect on the alternatives that are available. And I think it's such a positive that we have the PGT there to sort of say, wait, let's assess this further. Let's determine if it's absolutely necessary. Are there any other vehicles that might work? And you've outlined several of them already tonight that may still enable, I think that's the important thing here, is enabling that independence while still managing to move forward, even though we've entered this sort of new world of turning 19, and wanting to ensure that mom or dad or a family member, a brother or sister, can still support that individual in other ways. So I think there definitely has been a sense, I think, in the disability community and in the profession, that committeeship is being pushed strongly as an option. And I know these statistics, again, really resonate, I think, on what we're actually seeing in the community. And I think it's one of the major reasons why we wanted to conduct this session, was to hopefully educate families and enable them to have some knowledge that, yes, committeeship is an option, and yes, there may be circumstances where, you know, it is important and viable, but there may be circumstances where there may not be viability for that option, and maybe there are less intrusive options, less costly options that enable the protections and the supports without risking or jeopardizing that individual's ability. And I think, you know, when I speak of this, I really speak of it on, you know, the statistics that you pointed out. An individual with a developmental related disability turning 19, insignificant assets. We're not really focusing on the elder adult who has substantial wealth, perhaps, where, you know, committeeship may be a viable option at that point, where, you know, a power of attorney is not effective or a representation agreement is not in place. So, thank you.
And that's the pro of the committeeship that I flagged earlier, is that it's useful when there is very great risk to the adult and they are very vulnerable. But in family situations, the family is very supportive, and it's not the case that, yes, you've been your guardian for your child when they were under legal disability due to their minority, but that doesn't make you any less of an advocate when your child's an adult and you know the service providers and you know what your child needs, and you hopefully should be able to manage providing for them. This isn't a situation of risk. It's just a situation of someone feeling like they can help the adult and make decisions for them. And going back to the early part of the presentation, it is concerning if there is a push for people to say, get comiteeship, because that's not really the road that we are walking down in future directions. When I do review these applications and it is someone on disability and it's the parents applying, I do ask a few questions, but at that point, it really is at the petition stage when the petition's been filed, it's really almost too late.
Yeah.
And they're not really prepared to entertain ideas from the bureaucrat who says, yes, you've spent all this money, but I don't think it's necessary. And I certainly would be very reluctant to argue in court against a family who really had the best of, did this under the best of intentions and really were given the advice that this was the right thing to do. I would never stand in the way of that. But this is why outreach is so important, because I think it is critical that people understand that the less intrusive option is really the way to go if that's at all possible. And you're looking at a situation of really no risk to the adult. It's just a question of things changing between their minority and becoming an adult at 19.
Absolutely, yes.